Hi all, good morning, good afternoon. Hope you are doing well. In this class, we will see how UiPath arguments work in UiPath Studio. Okay, so what exactly an argument? So argument is nothing but it's kind of placeholder which will accept the value from external, and once it will do the manipulations or expressions, then it will return back the results to external. Okay, so that's why we can say the argument, there are two kinds of argument in UiPath. One is called input argument, other one is called output argument, that we will see in few seconds. Okay, hope you guys have a cloud account and you have logged into your cloud account, and you have to go to the product launcher and you have to click on UiPath Studio. So once you have clicked on UiPath Studio web, you will be able to see this screen. Okay, and make sure that you are in the cloud workspace. Then you have to click on create new, and then you have to select RPA workflow, so that it will create one solution explorer with RPA workflow. And let me rename this RPA workflow to called working with argument. Okay, and inside this working with argument solution explorer, there will be one main.xml file. Okay, so in this workflow, what exactly I'm trying to do, I want to read one Word doc file from my OneDrive that is been stored here inside my OneDrive, that is called input file.docs. Okay, so if you open this, there will be some content in this particular file which is written in the plain English language. Okay, so now the next step is what I have to do. Once I'll read that file from OneDrive, I want to read the content from that file, and then I will translate that content to my desired language. Okay, then I'll going to print that converted language content. Okay, so to do this, I want to break up into two workflow just to explain about the argument. Okay, so my flow one, that is called main.xml, what it will do, it will just go to the OneDrive and read or take the file from the OneDrive. To do this, I want to use one activity called get file or folder. Okay, once it will read the file, then that file object I am going to pass to another workflow where it will going to read the content from the file and it will convert into the language using another activity. Then it will print the log. So, but I want to print the log inside my main workflow. Okay, so this is my requirement. I want to implement that in my UiPath Studio. Okay, so let's go and start. So my main.xml file, first of all I'll click on this plus icon. I'll search for an activity called get file or folder, which makes sure that is coming from Microsoft 365 because my file has been stored inside OneDrive. Okay, so just click on this. Once you clicked on this, then the next step is let it install the dependency and let it connect to OneDrive. Then you have to click on file or folder. Then in the file or folder, you have to select the file you want to get. Just I have select the file called input file.docx. Okay, so then this file will return one output object that is called file or folder. Okay, so this file or folder I want to pass it to my another workflow. So let me create another workflow. It's called workflow file, and let me rename this workflow file to called translate translate language. Okay, so then in this workflow, what I will do, the rest of the steps I will do. So the rest of the steps is, one is called read text. Okay, so if I'll use read text, this read text will do to read the content from the file, okay, which is captured from the OneDrive and which is already been in my main.xml file. Okay, so to read the file, it need the file name here, right? So but my file name is in my main.xml, so how I can take that file object to from main.xml to my translate language file, so that I can use it here to read the content using read text activities. To do this, what I have to do, I have to define one input argument, okay, inside this translate language XML file. Okay, how we'll do this? You have to go to data manager. In the data manager, you will go to input, because I am going to define one input argument which will accept the value from external. So you have to click on this plus icon, then you have to give the input argument name. So this is just the naming convention. You have to use in underscore file name. Okay, okay, so then the direction will be in, and the data type, make sure that you are giving the correct data type, because that is an object. Okay, the file object is returned by get file or folder which read from OneDrive. So you have to click on this drop down, select your advanced types, then you search one data type object called O365 drive remote item. Okay, this is the data type you have to select. Okay, default value leave it, description leave it. Okay, now back and pass that input argument is called in underscore file name. So then once in underscore file name came from external, then read text will able to read the value from the content from the file, right? So then you have to go here, you will see it will return the content in the form of an variable called text. Okay, so then the next step is, what I will do, I will add another activity called translate. Okay, so what exactly this translate will do, which is part of GenAI activity, it will read the content, okay, which is stored inside the text variable. Okay, then it will convert into the language based on the input given by the user. So then in this case, what I will do, I'll just put the content which is captured using text variable in my previous step or in my previous activity called read text. Let me pass this. If you see here in the translate activity, my connection is established, model is selected, then I have to go here, I have to select this text variable, but the language I don't want to pass the hard coded here. What I want to do, I want to take it from my main.xml. Okay, so to do this, I will going to define one input argument called okay, so in underscore language, then the data type is text, direction is in, default value is fine, right? So then I have to pass this language here, in underscore. Okay, so how will pass it here, you can just scroll down, you will find it here, else you have to go here, select the variables here. Okay, so you have to pass it here. So once you'll pass it, then it will return your translated language into a translated text output variable. So you have to just print this, but I don't want to print it here, the translated message. I want to print that in my main.xml, right? So how we'll do this? So I want to define one output argument. Okay, so that output argument I can say is called out underscore, okay, targeted, I can say targeted language. Okay, so then the data type I can see out direction should be out because it will return back the results to outside. Text data type I can keep it. Okay, so now my value has been stored inside this variable called translated text, right? I want to store this value inside this output argument so that I happily can take that value from translate language to my main.xml. Okay, so to do this, what you have to do, you have to use an assign activity called assign value. Okay, so here you can put your output target language and set you can do your translated text. Perfect. So that's it, and now you back to your main.xml file. Okay, so now I'll just recap it what I did. I have you in the translate language is one of the component or one of the child workflow where I have used one activity called read text. It will take one input from main.xml and it will return the output to you. Then translate, also it will take the input from read text and take another input from main.xml called language. Okay, then it will give one output. That output I am going to store in another argument called out argument, which will return back the value to my main.xml. Okay, so in totality, if you go to the data manager, you will see I have two input argument. One is called file name, language, and output argument that is called targeted language. Okay, and these are two variables. Okay, one is called text, one is called translated text. These are the two variables in the workflow. Now I'll back to the main flow. In the main flow, if you see, I don't have any variables, any input and output is there, right? Now next step is what I will do, I will go to my main.xml. Here I have a manual trigger, then I have used get file or folder. Okay, so then I want to drag and drop this workflow called translate language here. Okay, once you drag and drop this translate language here, it nothing but here in the main flow, once this particular step will execute, then this step will going to execute is nothing but it will go call to one child workflow to execute. Okay, so if you see this, the child workflow has been called from here using invoke workflow. Okay, now any point of time you can go to your child flow by clicking on this and you just click on refresh argument. Once you click on refresh argument, it will ask you to provide, you have three argument, provide the detail for this three argument. Okay, the file name you have to provide which is coming from your previous step called get file or folder. Just click on this and click on expression editor and you can use a variable called file or folder. Save it. Okay, same thing for language. Language you can just pass it what the language you want. I can say Spanish. Okay, and then next step is you can pass the targeted output, whatever the output will come that you have to target it, right? So then what you have to do, I want to store inside a variable. So to do this, what I have to do, let me cancel this. I will first of all create a local variable inside my main.xml. Okay, so I'll go here go to data manager, make sure that you are in the main.xml. Then you want to create one variable, because I don't need input argument or output argument. I want to just create a variable called targeted language, okay. And the data type if you want to see is just a text format. Okay, so in the main.xml, so you have to click on this and you have to provide the file name here. Go to expression editor, select the variables called file or folder. Similarly, you can pass your language. The language you have to pass is called Spanish. Any language you can pass, but I am passing Spanish. Okay, so I have passed the language is called Spanish. Then the next step is what we can do. We have to provide the target language. I mean to say the value which is coming from my translate language.xml. I want to store that in a variable. So if you click on this, use variable, you will find the variable here. So this is the variable you will find called targeted language. Just save it. Okay. Then the last step is you have to use a log message just to print the value. So I have used one log message. I can write one message called okay, and I can use one variable called targeted language. So that's it. So all set. Let me recap it quickly. So I have two workflow. One is called main.xml file, one is called translate language. In the main.xml file, I am just using one activity called get file or folder, manual trigger, then get file or folder. Get file or folder will read the file from OneDrive. Then the next I am going to call to another child flow is called translate language. It will expect three argument. Two is input argument, one is output argument. Then the input argument I have passed the file name, file object is coming from the previous step, and also I pass the language I want to translate, and also as a result it will return a value, or it will return a value to me. So I am storing that value in a local variable here. It's called targeted language. Then I'm just printing that in the log message. Okay, so that's it. So now we'll quickly execute the scripts and we'll see. Yeah, so I just clicked on this debug on cloud. Then this is just a confirmation asking about the connection on to LLM and your OneDrive. Click on save and debug. Now you see your execution will begin. Okay, so the execution has been started. Manual trigger success. Get file or folder is in success also. Translating the language invoke workflow file is also been success. Now the log message also been success. Now if you see the log here, the targeted language is converted into Spanish and also been printed here. Okay, so that's it. So now for today session, so the main objective of variable and argument is mainly used when you are breaking of your flow into small chunks or small reusable components. Then in that point of time your arguments will play the vital role, I can say. So that's it. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed the sessions. Keep learning. Bye bye.